Hey everybody, welcome back to Tank Tops and Sweaters. Yvette and I are so excited today to be joined by Lisa Towers. Lisa is in the UK right now, so it's so cool that we get to connect this way. She is the author of Simply Anxious. She is an anxiety advocate. She has a fantastic Instagram platform. That's how we found her. So totally go check it out. She's also a certified anxiety and mindset coach. And she, like us, is on a mission to change the narrative around anxiety. So thank you so much for joining us, Lisa.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure.
So Lisa, tell us, how did you get interested in becoming an anxiety and mindset coach? And where did that journey begin?
Obviously, it wasn't what I set out to be, but years and years ago in my early 20s, so we're talking early 1990s, I went through something that was quite, I know now, traumatic. At the time, there wasn't any talk about trauma or emotions or, you know, everything back then was, you should be happy, you should be seen and not heard, you should not grumble about things. I know that's a bit of a British thing, but it was really rife, and it still is today, actually. But obviously, I wanted to try and move through this period of my life and get over it without actually knowing I had something. I knew I'd been through something traumatic, but I didn't know there was a process to get over trauma back then. So I started partying hard, drinking, you know, all the things, trying to suppress how I was feeling, trying to keep up with the Joneses, making sure that, you know, I look like I'm a really strong person. And then, to cut a long story short, I had a breakdown. I absolutely thought I was going insane. I thought, this is what it feels like to lose your mind. It came out of nowhere. And what I know now is it was anxiety. But it came out of nowhere. I had no knowledge back then, and no one else seemed to. And it was just a case of a doctor saying, you have an anxiety disorder and clinical depression. You'll have it for the rest of your life. Here's medication, and I'll see you once a month. Now, he was a psychologist, I think, and but that was it. So the prognosis was you're actually I interpreted it as you're actually got a faulty brain, and you'll have it for the rest of your life. Stay on the meds. And so that's what I did. I went away believing, God, I've been through all this with coming out of a toxic relationship, my son I lost for 6 years, you know, all that, which was really, really traumatic. And now I've got a brain defect. Why me? You know, that's how I felt. And so I kind of, that identity, and I lived it solidly for 15 to 17, around that years.
Wow.
Taking my meds, hiding the fact that I've got something wrong with me. Oh, they didn't notice, or, you know. And it wasn't until the internet was born that I found out there were actually other people like me going through symptoms like I was having. It wasn't geographical because they were from all over the world. And they introduced, or one lady introduced me to a Dr. Claire Weeks, who's an Australian. She was a scientist stroke doctor. And in 1962, she wrote a book called Hope and Help for Your Nerves. When I read the book, it was all about how you can recover from this. And that was like a smack in the face, you know. All of
Yeah.
a sudden, after 17 years, hang on a minute, a book is telling me I can recover from this. And so that's when I started researching, learning more. And I don't want to talk too much so that you
No,
can't
Yes,
come in.
no.
this is
But
fascinating.
then,
Yeah,
so
no,
then
I love this.
it was like, you know, for me, I could have gone down there, wow, 17 years lost
Mhm.
to this misdiagnosis. Okay, it was a diagnosis, that the diagnosis was true,
Right.
but it was the prognosis. It was temporary, and there was no mention of self-love, and there was no mention of trauma. And I was learning this from this book of a woman who'd written it in 1962. Why didn't my doctor give me that in 1962? You know,
It's way easier to write that prescription, isn't it, than to like have any
absolutely.
conversation about anything else we can do.
But I have read since that Dr. Claire Weeks, she came up with a lot of backlash from, you know,
Mhm.
but she was a right little feisty thing, and she was passionate about it because she'd been through it herself.
Mhm.
And so yeah, her book became kind of like a Bible to me. And I didn't recover then. I learned how to patch myself up much better. And the reason I didn't recover was life. I just had no time to actually do what I needed to do, because I was a single mum. I had a full-time job, a career, and the stigma was still really rife. So I wasn't, you
It's the
know,
stigma. It's the stigma and the culture of, like you said, being strong and putting on that front of, I'm a strong woman. I have it all together. Everything's good. I'm fine. When inside, everything is just kind of this,
horrendous.
this
And also the, you know,
tornado.
the label of it,
Mhm,
you have a mental illness,
mhm.
and you will have it for the rest of your life. Now, when that lands on you, when you've got no understanding whatsoever about emotions and nervous systems and threat responses, and, you know, you just automatically think, okay, so there's something wrong with me,
Mhm.
and I'm going to have to live with that. And if you believe something, you'll find the evidence for it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I had like 17 years, and then you know, trying to fit, what happened is I was trying to fit my recovery in around my life. What happened when I hit 50 was, nah, I'm fitting life around my recovery, because my story's not going to end like this. My story, I've wasted 17 years plus much longer than that, because like I said, I didn't recover. I patched myself up. My story's not going to end with me being anxious Lisa. I am going to absolutely throw that label away and get my real self back, you know. And it took a hell of a lot of peeling away the onion layers of
Oh,
all
yeah.
those beliefs that I carried.
And the
Yeah.
trauma. Yeah.
God, it's so much. Yeah, and the trauma. Now, I
Mhm.
did have therapy for the trauma, and then overcoming my fear of anxiety and actually changing my belief system was self-help.
Yeah.
Because in the UK, I don't know about there, but in the UK, you just can't, unless you're loaded, you just can't get a proper therapist. You can get a therapist, but it's the same therapist from, it doesn't matter what you have got, you go there as someone with mental illness, and they do the same textbook. So
Yeah.
it's not tailored, it's not holistic, it's not. And Dr. Claire Weeks gave me all,
Mhm.
everything that I need. Nature gave me the holistic side, and I just
getting,
went from there.
I think it's getting better in the US. I think it's, So I suffer from anxiety and have my entire life. But when I was a child, there was no, we didn't talk about anxiety. It was, you're a worry wart. Get over it, suck it up, deal with it.
You're oversensitive.
Yes, you're a sensitive
Yes.
child. Yeah, just why are you so sensitive about that? And then I have 3 children who all have anxiety in different forms. It's definitely carried down through the genes. But so I tried to deal with it differently with my kids than it was dealt with me. And not that my parents couldn't, they didn't understand it. And no one was there to help them. Like you said, there's a stigma around it. Why would they want their child labeled? So we just deal with it, right? We just tell her, suck it up and deal with it. I do think the stigma is changing a little bit. I do think therapists here, at least the therapists that I work with, are getting better at becoming more holistic and trying and including.
I agree.
Like
but not on the funded.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's the funded route.
It's the funded.
God, there's some absolutely amazing therapists out there if you can pay the 80 quid up.
Yeah.
But if you need therapy
and you can't afford it,
once a month ain't gonna cut it.
Oh no.
No. Oh no.
You know, and what do you do in between the sessions? You still feel so isolated. The stigma is still around.
Oh yeah.
You know, and it's for me, and I think everyone should earn a living. I totally get that. But I just wish governments would take it seriously. And in real life, not everyone can afford 80 quid a week for therapy.
Yeah.
And that's the lowest.
And the ones that are covered, like you said, are the ones that you go in and they do the same thing for everything that you have. It's the same textbook, and they have waiting lists, and they have more clients than they can handle. And it really is not actually helpful.
I think here, you're looking at 8 months to get in front of a textbook funded therapist.
That's kind of
the only way you get to see a psychiatrist if you've become so overwhelmed, you've got no idea what's happening to you, and you're still trying to do all the things that are actually stimulating you further. If you go over the, you know, what they class as, they can section you, then only then would you get to see a psychiatrist.
Isn't that crazy?
It's just but you said about genes. See, I think we learn anxiety. We have anxiety. Everyone's got anxiety.
Yeah.
But what happens is we can learn a behavior. When we're kids, we can learn a behavior of how to react to it. Oh, it's not good. We shouldn't be feeling like this, and that we can fall into the trap. And I think my son learns it from me.
See, I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's somewhat in our genes, the chemical imbalance and the passed down generational trauma. I think
do you know that there's no test? There is no test
for the chemical,
for the chemical imbalance, and there's no test to prove it's genetic.
But I do think the generational trauma that we pass
the trauma passes down.
Yeah. And I think
where I think anxiety is like a symptom of that trauma. Yeah. I mean, I want it as normalized. It's horrible and it's horrendous, but to normalize it as much as possible, because, you know, anxiety is normal. What isn't normal is some of our lifestyle behaviors. And that is why the body ends up screaming via anxiety.
It's what we believe
I think.
It's what we allow ourselves to accept as the intrusive thoughts and the anxiety starts to take over. Are we going to allow ourselves to believe in that? Or are we going to say, no, that's not me. I don't want to believe in that, and walk away? And for some of us, it's extremely hard to do that, because when those thoughts pop into our heads, when those feelings start to take over, we really dive into that. We really start to believe in that.
Absolutely.
And so it's super hard to walk away from that.
And it's I think, like I said, 17 years of those beliefs and stories, and you kind of grieve some of them because you're letting them go, and you kind of feel, wow, 17 years believing this, that, and but then I started seeing how lots of things had attached themselves to me as I was growing through everything, even as a child with a brother who was kind of narcissistic, and the consistent putting you down and mocking and all those things, and they attach to you. If you don't know what, you believe them. You believe that you're ugly and no one likes you. So it's awareness is massive, and it helps. And I had the intrusive thoughts horrendously, but once I started, the nervous system became key to keeping it soothed and happy. Not, you can't all the time, but not allowing it to, or not adding to it to become oversensitized and dysregulated. Because if you're feeling dysregulated inside and mentally exhausted and trauma and all those things, you're not going to have nice thoughts, because the thoughts are coming from a place of fear and despair. Whereas if you're feeling relaxed and calm, you can have a thought that's really bizarre and you think, oh, nothing of it, because your inner self is not like on high alert.
And I think part of it too is just being able to recognize when your nervous system is overwhelmed, and then learning the tools on how to calm your nervous system down. I think that we, as a culture here, for sure, everybody looks at that as like woo-woo stuff, right?
Here too.
But it's so important.
But it's true.
Yes.
And the gut and the brain. I remember once, not arguing, because I won't argue, but this guy, he was a psychologist or psychotherapist, and he said the gut is not attached to the brain. The brain, and I was like, it is, because
you want to say, let's talk about the vagus nerve.
Yes.
One of the first, and that was a load of woo-woo. It didn't exist, but it does. Everything that is attached to my brain.
Yes.
The whole thing is. So if I fill my gut full of crap, it's just the rest of me is gonna
feel crap.
So that is definitely changing now, and I love it. I get, when I see these people going on about the vagus nerve, and
we get
going on about gout, I'm like, yes, because we need this.
We do.
We're human beings, and we're not, for some reason, we've been conditioned to think that we're kind of anything but happy and hardworking and productive is not normal, where actually the hardworking and overproductive and work and that's not normal.
Right.
That's not normal.
It's totally backwards.
It completely is.
So you were going to say something, but what I was just about to say was, I was in that work environment. I've been there sort of 25 years, and I was thinking, I am patching myself up, hiding, and I'm going round until I hit burnout again, and then the anxiety plagues me. I mean, it was rumbling all the time, but floored me, and I go off sick again. And then I patch myself up, go back straight into the environment that was contributing. And I wasn't doing work on my belief system. I wasn't doing work on intrusive thoughts. I was suppressing, I was like a drummer all day. I was exhausted. And I just kept patching myself up. And I remember one day I thought, I can't do this anymore. And so I wanted to start raising awareness. I worked for a government department, and they're not the most nice, you know, they're quite toxic.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
very hierarchy, and you know, but I thought, I'm going to go for it, because if I'm going to put my head above the firing line, and if it's career ending, it's career ending. And so me and another colleague who was a senior manager said, who I admitted that I had anxiety and struggled for decades by then. And she said, oh my God, I'm so glad you said that, because I've suffered with depression, but I haven't told anyone. And then these people would come out, I've had bipolar and it just grew.
Wow.
And we set up this group called Break the Stigma, and it just went national across the government departments.
Wow. What
And I
an
think
But I still ended my career further down the line. The stigma
For a
was
way better
always
way.
there.
Yeah.
I mean, it really helped.
Yeah.
You know, we went on TV, we did loads of campaigning, we went down to Whitehall, which is like head office, Marsham Street, and the government place, and you know, really raising awareness. And it was really, really good. I got a medal from the Queen for my work in raising awareness, and it was just, this is great. But closed doors, you're still going to get individuals who are in management positions who are completely not interested in it, and do stigmatize you and bully you and things like that. So that's why I started Simply Anxious, because I thought, well, I'll do it as far, you know, some people want me just to shut up about it. I'm going to do it everywhere then.
Everywhere. I love it.
No,
Everywhere.
everywhere.
Even over here in the US.
Yes,
I
everywhere
just
decent.
don't want anyone to feel as isolated and as ashamed and guilty as I did, you know, when that was way before the internet, but even when the internet was born, in work and places like that, because all those things do is make your experience with it worse. And I don't want people to suffer prolonged periods of time because of stigma.
Right. And the shame that goes along with that stigma.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It is.
It is very, very huge. And I think it plays right into those feelings. It
Completely.
It validates all of
Mhm.
that when it's not true and it's not real, but unfortunately the stigma just reinforces it.
I remember I was on an event for mental health awareness, and I bumped into this guy. He was down in London, and he said, oh, glad I saw you. I saw some of your lot the other day. And I said, my lot. And he went, yeah, you know, your lot.
Oh.
And you know, where you just think, and I said, and that is exactly why I'm doing this.
Yes.
There is no my lot.
No.
We're all in it. Everybody's in it, whether they
everyone
or
is
not.
Everyone. It doesn't discriminate. It's if you go out, if you cane your job and cane your social life, and you take loads of alcohol, and you've got all these worries, you don't talk about them, or you suppress your true self, or whatever, or go through something traumatic, you will experience anxiety. Because that's how the body screams.
Exactly.
When you're threatened, when your well-being's threatened, and all those things, excessive working and not enough joy in your life and stuff like that, even an unhealthy relationship, the body feels it as a threat, so it throws out the anxiety.
Yeah, it's the fight or flight for sure. So I want to take you back to the nervous system, because you were talking about that and how you worked on your nervous system.
Do you know, I've only done that recently.
Oh, really?
I didn't even know I had a nervous system.
It's fascinating work, isn't it?
So, oh guys, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So I did all the yoga, and I loved Kundalini yoga. I started doing that, and that is breath work. So obviously
Yes.
it's a lot of breath. It's just amazing. I love the mantras, and I just found it like I'd found something that really was touching me inside, rather than just stretching my muscles. It goes
Yeah.
deeper. And so that was a form. That is kind of like a form of your
It is.
nervous system, isn't
Yeah.
it? But those weren't the words used. And obviously I did the exposure to overcome my fears, journaling, where I was challenging my thoughts,
Okay.
making sure I ate healthy. I was still drinking wine then, but I'm now 16 months alcohol free, and I'm never going back.
Nice
Because
job.
my well-being, all of it,
Wow.
has gone up to another level now,
Yes. Yes.
which makes sense, because alcohol is poison, really.
Mhm.
There's no nutrition value in it. So and now I'm getting older, you know, I want to give myself kind of like the best chance of.
Yes.
So I was doing all them, and so I didn't really know about the nervous system and the nervous breakdown. I didn't actually get that, and I actually thought nerves were just like little things,
Yeah.
Yeah, for
you know.
pain. Yeah.
Yeah.
But since then I have nature. Sorry, fast forward. Go backwards. So it's Kundalini yoga and nature. I started walking, and I would sit and do mindfulness. And
Yes.
I went in Sheffield. They've got a couple of Buddhist places. I didn't go for the, it's not actually a religion, but I didn't go for that. I went to learn mindfulness from the experts, because they're brilliant when it comes to mindfulness.
Yeah.
And it was just a combination of, like, my life was now nature. I didn't have my dogs back then, but nature and the yoga, a lot of reading and researching, and then just looking after myself and taking a step slower. I didn't want that fastness anymore. I wanted to be.
Yes.
And now I know they all help the nervous system.
Yes.
But it wasn't until recent that I've really got into it. And recent, I'm talking the last 3 years.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
And I think there's more research coming out, and there's more people talking about the nervous system, and how we can help regulate our own nervous system and help co-regulate. I have a 17-year-old that has major anxiety, and Yvette and I talk about this all the time. We do what we call the 20-second hug, and we hug for 20 seconds, and our breath and our heartbeat get in sync, and it makes the biggest difference in the world.
I bet.
And just something as simple as that. Why didn't someone tell my mom that? Do you know what I mean? It was so pushed aside. And so I think we are making improvements as we come.
Absolutely, we are.
But I still think we have a long way to go.
There's a lot of noise on, and there's a lot of brilliant stuff going on. Charities and people like yourselves and us, we're all, I love it. I'm so excited, and I get even more excited when I see the blokes doing it.
Yeah.
The men, because here the suicide rates for guys is just off.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
And it's, you got to man up. You're the breadwinner. And it's all nonsense. Someone made that up. They're human. They're not invincible.
No.
So there is a lot of really good stuff, but for the people who, there's not enough change, boots on the ground doing the change, as in the people who can, the people with the
power to change things.
The government, the power.
Exactly. There's people like us trying, as hard as we can, and trying to get the message out there and change the stigma.
I mean, I was, when I was raising awareness, And we bring people in like at lunchtime. So we bring yoga in, Buddhist monks in, we bring the NHS to talk about mind, you know, on Mind, with a charity that do amazing work in the UK. And I remember once we had this event, and it was I think it was National Mental Health Day or some mental health day, and it was really, really good. And the next day I was sat in a meeting with senior managers, because I used to run a team as well. I was talking about, talking about sickness levels, and talking about the people with anxiety, depression. So how are we gonna manage these lot out then? And I'm thinking, did yesterday just happen?
Oh my
Do you know what I
gosh.
mean? The stigma. I know I keep banging on about it, but it's, yeah. And it depends on the individual who's in charge, actually, because if the individual who's in charge is very open and aware that, you know, we're human beings and everyone is vulnerable to it, and they take, you know, what's it called, their duty of care to their staff.
Yeah.
They really care about that. They take it seriously. Then you're in a good position. But unfortunately, sometimes you have people in those positions who don't give a
No. Yeah, and I think that's part of the thing we'd like to, oh, my camera just went out. Part of the things we'd like to change too is
you've gone all blurry.
I know, I don't know what happened. Let's see if we can fix that.
Your camera will come back on. Yeah, we'd love to change the talk around the stigma, because I feel like it's definitely a generational cultural thing that has been passed down for how many generations in the past, right?
They
Like,
used to PMS. If you had
Mhm.
PMS, they used to put you in asylums.
Exactly. And it's like, I think the thing is, you know, as a culture, as society, so many people are scared of change. They're scared of the unknown. And I think because, you know, anxiety and depression and all the mental stigmas that are out there are unknown, that's how the reaction is done. It's like it's a reaction of fear instead of curiosity and wanting to be able to understand it more. I guess a place of understanding, right? As empathy, understanding, respect, and just, you know, accepting it as this is a human reaction. This is a human thing. We are all born and bred with this. This is not something that should be a stigma. It's not something that should be punishable or, you know, something that we should react to. It should be something we should be supporting, being open to, being curious,
And
I love it.
preventing.
Yes,
Yes.
and preventing.
You
Yeah.
know, like in the work environment,
Yes.
putting preventative measures in so that
Yes.
people aren't hitting burnout all the time.
Right.
And
Think about how much more productive we'd be if we had those preventative measures in place so that we weren't hitting burnout, right? Like how much more would actually be accomplished if we could give people the time and the space and the empathy and the help that they need.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I'm a bit woo-woo now in the sense where I love my nervous system. Nothing is nothing, and I mean nothing now, will I allow to, if it impacts my mental health negatively, I walk away nicely, but I just don't need it. I really don't. And it's like, I just find that when you start healing and then you find things that do light you up, and I don't mean that from a selfish point of view, I mean it, you can actually feel it. So like my morning walks with the dogs, I feel I could take on the world when I get back, and I go every morning, doesn't matter if it's raining or whatever. that will never shift for me now, because I know how it makes me feel, and it keeps me well. And I think when you come through healing, it's not like you heal and now I can do whatever I want and I'm never going to feel anxious again. It doesn't work like that.
No.
You can't go back to
No.
caning the booze and not sleeping, and
Right.
because you'll just go back down. I've got more respect for myself now, which I don't think I had before, because I didn't actually know that you had to have that. You know, I didn't actually.
Yeah.
You're not aware of your mechanisms as a human, are you?
Right.
No.
And your
You
self-love.
just think you're human.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. I think the respect for yourself and the self-love are something that we don't put enough emphasis on.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about doing what you have to do, pleasing everybody else. And that was a huge thing for me to let go of and say, oh,
And me.
yeah. And Yvette and I've talked about this before. We always use the phrase, you know, how you're on an airplane, they say, put your oxygen mask on before you help somebody else. I have to take care of myself before I can help anybody else. And I think that's a thing that, especially in the US here, it's for women, it's, we have to take care of everything else. You come last, you know, yourself comes last. And so I think changing that and realizing that we have to take care of ourselves and love ourselves.
Yeah.
And that was another moment for me when I realized how bad I spoke to myself.
Yes.
So if something, you know, like, and I thought, I think someone said to me, what would someone that you love or someone that you're close to, how would they feel if you spoke exactly how you speak to yourself? And I thought, but I wouldn't speak to them like that. So why are you speaking to yourself like that?
Yeah.
I don't know. And but we do.
Yes.
Oh yeah. The
And of
tendency
course
so
we
there,
feel that makes us feel worse, where,
Mhm.
you know, if you do something wrong, and I'm still working on my inner child thing. I'm still working on, you know, from growing up being, my parents were amazing. My dad was quite strict, but my brothers were, like I said, you know, the narcissistic, and relationships were just awful. And even now, if someone tells me off, you know, I don't mean tells me off, but if someone says, oh, Lisa, you didn't, I feel myself go back as if I'm a kid.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes, you know, healing, I think, means recovery from anxiety means you're no longer, for me, you no longer do behaviors that fuel anxiety unnecessarily. So I'm no longer seeing anxiety as this illness that's coming to attack me. And I actually see, if I feel anxious now, I think, right, what's going on?
Yeah. That's when you get curious.
What's not happening for me?
Yeah.
You know, but the healing, I think, just goes on. I sat looking at my mum today, because she's bedridden now, and I was feeding her, like, I got her one of these, because she can't eat proper food, so I got her this chocolate mousse with all this cream on and these little flakes of chocolate and stuff, and I was feeding her, and I looked at her and I thought, wow, you know, she has put all of us, her family, in front of everything for as long as I can remember. And, you know, she was a journalist, so she had a really good career, but she had the children, and then dad was his career, and mum looked after the kids and stuff. And I just thought, and now she's obviously coming to the end of life, and it's like, they had a great life, and they did spend a lot of time from the age of 60. They went out on holidays and they did all that, which is great. But it just made me think, I felt like she's missed out on who she is, maybe.
Yeah.
And that made me feel it made me think, I'm not going to miss out on me.
Yeah.
And if I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and that's hard to come to terms with. It doesn't matter, because
Yeah,
if we worry about being not everyone's cup of tea, we're again wasting time on stuff we can't change.
Yep.
right. And not loving ourselves for who we are too. I think that that's where that self-love
Yeah.
comes in. Not everybody has to like me. To get to that point was really hard for me with my
And
anxiety.
me,
Yeah, not
because
everybody
I
has
was
to
a
like.
people's
Yep,
pleaser.
yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have even more anxiety because when you're with somebody, you're thinking, what else do I need to do to make them like me or to make them happy or to keep them here?
And it's dangerous to be in that position, because I was in that position for so long, and I ended up being in relationships I didn't even fancy them, but I do you know what I mean? It was just, I'm with someone, but
Yes.
I could tell that I wasn't me
Right.
when I was with them. It was all about, are they happy? Am I making them happy? Or do they like me? And that's why I live with 3 whippets now. It is the best decision I ever made, because I think with my trauma, it doesn't, I've got a spirit, like a fire in me to get out in life and just be myself. Whether that looks silly to some, that's fine, but I still think if I go into a relationship, because my trauma felt so bad, I will still be looking through the eyes of that trauma.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's hard not to, isn't it?
It is hard.
People say to me, oh, they're not all the same. Men aren't all the same. And I know that, but I don't want to risk the same coming back.
Yeah,
Do you know
and all
what
the
I
work
mean?
you've done on yourself too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
As
Yeah.
far as you've come in this journey.
Yeah,
Right.
I've never felt as happy. And it wasn't meant to be like, my life wasn't meant to be like that, or was it? But I've never felt as happy and just content with the simple life that I've got, which I'm really glad that I've got.
I love that.
That is
But I am
amazing.
so curious because we do not have anything like this that we know of in the US. But
Yeah.
how did you become an anxiety coach?
Right. So you have to be, well, you don't have to be anything. But I did the NLP certified training, which basically is just, it's like listening skills and language you use,
Like a coaching,
beliefs. It's just like
Yeah.
that. And so I've had people come to me and I've said no, because there's clear trauma. I
Mhm.
can't help you. And it's not that I don't want to, it's just that you've got trauma. And even like, I went to a proper psychologist for
Yeah.
Right.
for trauma.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that there's anything wrong with, I don't use the NLP thing. It's just so people, it costs you a load of money, and I think they probably rip you off a bit, because you don't have to be certified. What I do when I help people in coaching is I'm more like a mentor, obviously educating them on stuff, but helping them realize they don't have to believe everything that they think, identifying the beliefs, reframing those beliefs, and not, I don't like the word accountability, but someone that they can bounce off.
Yeah.
I've been there, I know exactly how it feels and why it doesn't have to be, why you don't have to feel shamed, why you don't have to, bring in sort of the reality of course you're feeling like this, the validation as well, and a way forward. So, I know there's a lot of coaches, well, not coaches, but whoever, who say you've got to go out there and expose yourself. I don't mean it that way, but exposure therapy, get out there, do it, you'll get over anxiety. Well, actually, no, you won't, because if you just do that without the psychoeducation of what anxiety actually is, without looking at your beliefs, because if you go out there but you still believe anxiety can make you go insane or kill you, you're not going to get over it, because all you'll be having in your head is you got lucky, it didn't get you that time, it'll get you next time. Because that belief is so strong. And it's the same as, I'm going to go out and do exposure therapy, but my main core belief is I am useless and I'm not good enough. You're going to be full of self-doubt as you're doing your exposure therapy, and that's not going to work. It's got to be holistic.
Yeah, you've got to change that
Gotta be
mindset
holistic.
and work on the nervous system.
Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, I did it.
Mhm.
I thought, God, I hate exposure. It hurts too much. It hurts too much because I was white knuckling. I wasn't doing exposure. I wasn't accepting the feelings. I was, I got home, I did it.
And then you
That's
kind of
white
collapse, right?
knuckling.
Yeah.
So it's like putting a Bunsen burner under you, you know, like, it doesn't work.
With my child, we had a psychologist who wanted to do that exposure therapy, or cognitive behavior therapy as it's also called, which, you know, for some people may really work, but for certain, I think it's very individual. And they wanted to just sit him down, just expose, just, you know, just put that sandwich right in front and make him eat it. And it's like, how is that helping him through this? Like, that's not going to solve the issues that are causing the feelings behind what is happening. And we just walked out of the office. We were like, okay, well, great, thanks, bye.
I heard that, I think it was someone in the UK. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're not trained at all. They're called the Speakmans.
I've not heard of that.
They're on telly and everything, but I heard that it was either them or someone else who got a group of agoraphobic people and put them on a plane and flew them to Dubai.
Oh my gosh. No.
No. It's not. It's not. There's a belief to why you're fearful of anxiety. There's a thought pattern going on. You know, there's a belief why you don't feel good enough. There's a thought pattern, and those thought patterns can be so ingrained. I mean, like mine was, that I'm not good enough, and it takes years. I'm still working on that. I'm not good enough. The fear, the losing, and I hate saying this because people who are still locked in a cycle of anxiety because they're doing the behaviors that fuel it. I'm not belittling that. I was there for years, but that was a lot easier, I'm finding, to overcome than the self-belief. Because you think you're getting there, and then something will come up and you'll think, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And
like a daily battle.
Yeah.
At least for me.
It is.
And it's always people that trigger it.
It is.
Yeah.
Because especially with like social media, and like you said at the beginning, you know, you see all these perfect examples on TV and movies and all around us. And so it is ingrained in our heads, like we have to be like that, or you have to present yourself like that. Instead of showing the real, showing the human side, accepting the human side, accepting the realness of what life really is. And I think that's what we got to work on.
It's what we're conditioned to think, isn't it? And the first time I did a live, I don't do lives anymore because I got trolled so bad. But the first time I did a live, a woman sent me a DM and said, I found that really interesting. If you're planning on doing any more lives, have you considered and put a syringe? And I thought, oh my gosh, when did an anxiety awareness page
Oh
turn
my
into something
God.
to do with what I look like. And she was probably just trying to tout me for some Botox, but I'm actually now at the stage where I want to grow old gracefully. So this year I've grown out. I've only got a little bit left of
I
the
love it.
blonde. So this is me, and
But you
this
look
is
so
the
good.
grey.
I was gonna say, I don't even see the gray.
And then I cut the boobs out. So, you know, the skin's feeling good. I want to grow. I want to do Helen Mirren. I want to grow old
Yes.
gracefully.
Yes.
I don't want
Yes.
to look, you know, I'm
Yeah.
happy with
Well, and I think
but
too,
when
and
she
because-
sent me that, oh,
yeah,
Because people
it
are
just
ridiculous.
it sat in my head for like weeks.
I just had something happen like that this week, so I get it.
You know, it kind of, for me, it wasn't so much how I look, it was so much it's even, you know, that triggering nasty stuff I'm trying to remove from my life is even coming at me in a virtual sense.
Right. For
On
someone
an
that doesn't even
anxiety,
know you.
trying to help people with anxiety forum, and they're still coming at me to chip away at my.
Because people don't stop and think. They don't stop and think before they speak. They don't stop and think like of themselves and their issues and what they're
And
going
everyone's
through.
coming from their
Mhm.
nonsense, aren't they?
Their anxiety, their trauma.
Yeah.
And we've all got nonsense that we
Oh,
Oh
for
gosh.
sure.
listen to.
But think about what the message we're sending when we do that. Like when we tell somebody they need Botox or somebody needs to lose weight or something like that. What message are we sending kids? And I don't know about in the UK, but we have a huge number, like a rising number of kids with eating disorders.
Yeah, we
all
do.
genders.
We do.
It is not just
Yeah,
it is all
it's
genders.
gender.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And we are sending.
And I think it's worse now because of social media.
Yes. Yes.
And have you seen, I have got a presence on TikTok, but I'm not very active because I kind of don't like it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because some of the stuff that comes up, I think, oh my God. But the filters on there.
Mm-hmm.
This woman who there is one woman I follow on there, and she's really good. She's on Instagram as well, and she shows you all the
filters,
fakeness that's out there.
Yeah.
And there's filters, and you go like that, and the filter doesn't show on their hands, so it's like, and then she'll take the filter off, and you just think that is right. You know, if I worked in kind of like a law enforcement field, so you know all the, and you think, wow, that is frightening.
Yeah,
it is frightening. For me at 57, imagine someone
teenager.
8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
And the message that we're sending them is it's not okay to be yourself. It's not okay to look like you look. You have to look better. You have to look perfect. And that just creates the anxiety that just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. We're just fueling it. We're not making it any better.
And I totally agree with you there, that you look at girls when you're out and they're all, I see young girls. I'm not going to go at anyone who wants to do whatever they want to do, but I just, as long as they know they don't have to.
Right.
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
You don't have to have your lips filled out. You don't have to, you know, my granddaughter is her name's Honey, and she's just, oh, you know, when absolutely the natural beauty is just, I don't want her to go on
No.
and start doubting herself and having all these things done, because it's, you know, every cream, every advert that's for cream, that's about your teeth, that's about your hair, that's about the size of your body, all of it, someone money. That's it.
Yeah.
It's not that you're not good enough how you are. It's just telling you you're not, or this might make you feel better,
So you'll buy
will
it.
make someone a load of money.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because actually you are great. You're actually more than great when you are yourself.
Right.
And be
Because
true.
your truth and your truth,
Mhm.
the fire inside you will shine brightly. When you're trying to be someone that you're not, I know, because I was for years in a job where you couldn't be yourself, you weren't allowed.
Right.
It kills your soul,
Mhm.
and
It
it
abs-
fuels I'm not good enough.
Yes.
Oh,
And I think
completely.
that's just the fire we're dealing with now, with that we've created with all of this, you know,
Mhm.
and then social media has added to it, and the filters add to it. And just, I would love to change the message, especially, you know, I have young girls, and
Yeah,
love to change the message of you are good enough. Like, I wish someone had told me I was good enough when I was a teenager or a young 20
and
something,
me.
you know, and like, let's change that. Let's be part of changing that.
That's what we yeah.
I love it
And
though, yeah, because all of us were in this movement of teaching that younger generation, the next generation, to accept themselves, to love
yeah,
themselves. Let's stop the stigma. Let's start
Mhm.
talking about this. Let's
yeah,
open up the conversation. Let's get it out there. So I love that, at least we can pass that down to our children and our
yeah.
grandchildren and the next generations.
And I want, the older women as well. You're
Mhm.
not washed up and on the shelf, and you
Yeah.
grow old how you want to grow old. Live with whippets if you want to live with whippets,
Yes.
I actually walked past a couple the other day when we were out in the country, and she kind of laughed and he laughed. They said hello, and as I walked past, it was, there's another middle-aged woman who can't get a man, so they get dogs. And I thought, wow, I wanted to turn around and say, actually, they are why I got dogs.
Yes.
But I was laughing about it yesterday morning, actually, because there's a group of women that I've got to know. We've all got dogs, and
I
we're all
love it.
happy.
I think that's what you should say. You should turn around and say, but look at how bright and happy I am.
Yeah, I didn't bother. I just,
Yeah.
it's just, I actually see when people react now, I kind of think, where are they coming from?
Yeah.
What
Yes.
makes,
Yeah. What makes them say nasty
Yeah.
things?
I think
'cause-
that's that change in mindset too. It's not
Mhm.
what's wrong with you. It's for saying that. It's what happened to you that you have to say that, or that you feel like
yeah,
Yes.
that's where
yeah,
you're coming from. What happened to you?
yeah,
Because obviously they have their own trauma and their own
Mhm.
stuff that they're dealing with. It's hard.
yeah,
It's hard to hear some of the things that they say, but to look at it from a different point of view of saying, they're coming at it from
yeah,
something.
It's
yeah.
like the little kids, in grade school
Oh,
when they start picking on each other. And it's, they're coming from traumatic experiences and whatnot, the bullies in the school
yeah,
they always tend to pick on the others to make themselves feel better.
yeah,
It just grows into the
yeah.
adult version of
Because
that.
probably they're not getting
Right.
the recognition and the validation and the love
And the
and
love.
support at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And caring.
But I
Yeah.
do think
And
it's
if you're
also,
surrounded, they say if you work in a bakery, you get covered in flour. If you live in an environment that's just negative and,
Yes.
neglected and just dismissed and ignored,
Hmm.
then
Yeah.
you're not going to skip to school, are you? Feeling like you want to do that to everyone else. You're going to want to it out at,
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can pass that negativity on
yeah.
Yeah.
to everybody you
Definitely.
see. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, my dears, we should probably wrap this up because
I hope it's made sense, because I know
Yes, you are you are
Oh
so
my
I'm
fun
a
to
bit
talk
of a
to.
rambler.
no. Thank you so much, Lisa, for joining us. We can't tell you how
Oh,
grateful we feel for you.
I was going to say my book, if
Yes,
anyone,
Yes,
on
please.
Amazon.
Simply Anxious. Now, I'm no J.K. Rowling, but it is things that I wish I'd known when I was recovering, and that's why I wrote it. So,
I love it.
And there's a
Everybody,
yeah,
journal that goes with it too that you did.
Yeah, I do a journal, but I'll tell you what I love now is my course. Honestly, because, and I'm not just plugging it, it's going to sit there if people want to do it.
Yeah.
It's because it is, I'm heavily involved in it as well. And I have group calls every week. And it's, people are just, well, it's more women are just saying, Lisa, this is changing my life. This is, you know, so this is my little corner of how I can help people
I love
not
that
feel
you,
so alone.
yes, I love that you are sharing. I love that you're growing a community. Kelly and I hope we can be a part of that community
Yeah.
and
Yes,
support you.
absolutely.
Because we are on a mission to empower others to really bridge that gap, to build
Yeah,
those tools and to support one another,
yes.
because that's what we really need in this world.
And so on yours, I've had a look, and you do your exercise. I think it's amazing. So I'll put some of your stuff on my page so
I
that
would
people
love that.
know.
We would love that. Thank you. But
Okay.
thank you, Lisa. I'm gonna end the recording here, but please go
Okay,
follow Lisa at Simply Anxious on Instagram. Also, go look at her book on Amazon. And
thank
you can
you.
always look at her website as well through her Instagram account. But Kelly and I are so grateful to have you join us today. Make sure you follow our YouTube channel. If you're watching this, please hit that subscribe button so you can just get the newest and latest videos coming up. We're going to post our class that we did the other day, so you can actually look at our movements, see what we do, and then hopefully join us next time. Otherwise, have a great day, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Bye.